After finding his real father, Po begins to be hunted by an evil spirit and must learn to control his vital energy to prevent the world from being destroyed. Today we're going to recap the story of the 2016 movie, Kung Fu Panda 3. In the spirit world, Ogway is meditating when a green blade with chains is thrown in his direction. After defending the first attack, Ogway sees a second sword and throws the first to block it. As soon as he sees the swords, Ogway realizes that his opponent is Kai, an old friend he hasn't seen for over 500 years. Ready for a rematch, the yak charges at the ancient turtle and splits a large chunk of rock with a single blow from his blades. Seeing his old friend's leap in power, the master turtle dodges the attack and returns it with a she seal. Even after receiving the blow, Kai gets up as if nothing had happened and shows that he has taken advantage of the last few centuries to absorb the chi of the other masters who were in the spirit world, which has given him an absurd power-up. With no options left, Ogway gives it his all in a final blow of yin and yang. Even with all the turtle's power, Kai manages to overcome the barrier with two gigantic rocks and binds his former friend's body with the chain, absorbing his chi into an emerald medallion. With Ogway's abilities, Kai finally has enough power to return to the world of mortals, and that's exactly what he intends to do. At the Jade Palace, Po and the Furious Five arrive for another day of training, and right away Shifu says he's going to retire, leaving the Dragon Warrior in charge of the place and the training of the other students. Disgruntled, Po says he doesn't know how to teach and asks him to leave the Tigress as the new master of the palace, but Shifu refuses the request, saying that this is his responsibility, and leaves the training room immediately afterwards. With no options left, the Furious Five bow to their new master and set off to train, but thanks to Po's instructions, everything is a complete disaster and they fail to pass a simple circuit, leaving badly injured. At night, Po is on his way to the Ogway statue when he sees some employees passing by and laughing at his performance as an instructor. Saddened, the panda begins to apologize to the statue when Shifu comes up behind him to talk. Wanting to encourage his pupil, the red panda says that when he learns to become a great teacher, Po will finally understand who he really is and master the power of Shi, the vital energy that can make everything flourish. While they talk, somewhere far away, General Kai finally arrives in the mortal world and turns the medallions into Shi statues, ordering them to locate the Ogway students. Unaware of the approaching danger, Po is taking a bath in the back of Mr. Ping's restaurant when they arrive to warn him that someone is about to break his pastry record. Curious, Po goes to watch the contestant and is surprised to discover that it's another panda. Impressed, the Dragon Warrior asks who he is and the stranger introduces himself as Li Shan, a traveler who is looking for his son who was lost when he was still a baby. As soon as he hears this, Po realizes that he is the lost son and runs to hug Li Shan, which makes Mr. Ping jealous. To confront him, the cooking goose asks if Shen hasn't eliminated all his kind, and Li replies that there is still a secret village full of pandas in the mountains. Mr. Ping then asks how he found Po, and Li Shan replies that he received a message from the universe after Shen's defeat, which impresses everyone. Excited, Po decides to take his father to the Jade Palace and they start playing with the legendary artifacts, only stopping after being caught by Shifu and the Furious Five. Once everyone has been introduced, the alarm begins to sound and the valley's defenders go out to face their enemies. As soon as she sees the greenish creatures, Tigress says that they are jade zombies, and Po realizes that they are all great masters from the past. While fighting the greenish zombies, Po ends up falling into Mr. Ping's restaurant and takes the opportunity to use the pastry doom trick, where he eats several bowls and the viper squeezes his belly, turning the Dragon Warrior into a dumpling machine gun. In this way, they manage to distract the zombies and neutralize them, but Kai has already gotten what he wanted, which is to know who Ogway's disciples are. Communicating through the statues, the general says that he has seen them all and that he will soon come to absorb their energies. After the warning was communicated, Kai turns the zombies into medallions again and makes them all come back, which leaves Po and the others very confused. Wanting to know a little more about the enemy, Shifu goes to the palace and starts looking through the scrolls until he finds one that tells the story of Kai. Reading the text, they discover that Ogway and the yak were best friends and fought side by side, leading a large army. During a war, they were ambushed and Ogway was seriously injured. To help him, Kai wandered with the turtle on his lap for several days until they reached a secret village in the mountains, the village of the pandas. There, everyone could control the power of Shi, and they used this energy to heal Ogway, as well as teaching him how to control this power. But Kai wanted this ability all to himself and started stealing the panda's energy, forcing the turtle master to confront him. After a long battle, Ogway managed to banish his friend to the spirit realm, and should he return to the mortal world, he can only be defeated by a true master of Shi. Since he doesn't know how to use this skill, Po says that Shifu must face him, and the red panda says that he can barely make a flower grow. As they discuss what to do, Li Shan says that he can teach his son how to become a Shi master, but that in order to do so, he must go to the secret village to remember what it's like to be a panda. Refusing to let his son leave without him, Mr. Ping goes to prepare things for the trip while Shifu sends Crane and Mantis to find Kai's location, but orders them not to confront him, because if the general manages to absorb their energies, it will be even more difficult to defeat him. With the mission defined, the two fly after Kai while Po, Mr. Ping and Li begin their journey to the village. After a long time traveling, the three arrive at the foot of the mountain and climb up via a counterweight system, reaching the beautiful village of the pandas. As soon as they see Li Shan, the other animals crowd around him to meet his son, which makes Po extremely happy to finally meet others of his kind. While the pandas are having a feast to celebrate their return, Crane and Mantis approach Kai's hideout and find the bear, chicken and crocodile masters ready to confront him. Thinking this was a bad idea, Crane tries to warn them about what Shifu said, but they don't listen and go in anyway, including Mantis. With no options left, Crane decides to go back to help them and enters the place, coming face to face with the general who knocks him to the ground. Kai then shows that he has already absorbed the Mantis and Crane tries to free him, but is easily repelled by the villain's Shi. To avoid being absorbed too, he throws a barrel at the Yak general and tries to fly away, but is caught by Kai's chains, which also turn him into a medallion. Unaware of his friend's fate, Po wakes up early and goes to his father's room to start training, but instead Li Shan tells him that pandas only wake up after noon and says that the first lesson is to go back to bed. In the afternoon, Po begins his training to become a real panda, all while Mr. Ping tries to prevent the cubs from destroying his kitchen. After a whole afternoon just eating and rolling around, the dragon warrior sits down next to his father and asks when he'll be ready to start training, but Li changes the subject, saying he wants to show him something. Inside the house, Li Shan picks up a painting of his wife and tells her a little more about the day he lost her, which makes Po emotional to learn more about her past. Meanwhile, in the Jade Palace, Shifu receives messages from various provinces saying that masters from all over China have disappeared, signaling that Kai has already absorbed the Shi of all of them. Just then, Kai arrives at the place and Shifu discovers that even his students have been caught. With the help of the zombie version of the Crane and the Mantis, Kai manages to easily deal with the three remaining Furies. Being the only one with the slightest chance of stopping him, Shifu goes to attack the general, but sees the talisman with Ogwe's Shi around his neck and ends up letting his guard down, easily defeated. With only the tigress left standing, Shifu asks her to warn Po while Kai breaks the Ogwe statue and uses it to destroy the Jade Palace. Now that his objective is complete, Kai goes after Shifu and absorbs him in front of the tigress, who only manages to survive by hiding behind a rock. Unable to defeat him, the feline takes the scroll that tells Kai's story and flees towards the panda's village. With no idea what has happened to his friends, Po tries to master Shi on his own when Tigress arrives to tell him what has happened. Upon learning that even Shifu couldn't stop the enemy, Po begs Li Shan to teach him Shi's technique as soon as possible, but he refuses, saying that his son isn't ready yet. Running out of time, Po starts pressuring him to start training soon and Li Shan finally reveals that he doesn't know how to control Shi energy, and that no modern-day panda does. Furious to discover that he has left his friends behind because of a lie, Po walks away from Li Shan and decides to face Kai alone, setting up a small camp to train in while he doesn't arrive. Observing everything, Mr. Ping realizes that Li needs help and goes to his house to talk, saying that Po may be hurt, but he will need both parents to save the world. At the training camp, the dragon warrior continues practicing alone until the tigress shows up to tell him that it's not going to work out, sparking a dispute between the two. As they battle, Po tries the WUXI finger hold and says he can do it to Kai, but the tigress replies that the jade zombies are connected to his vision and he'll never be able to catch him by surprise. Just then, Li Shan appears with the other pandas, saying that they can help with the distraction, as long as he prepares them first. Thinking of a way to train them, Po comes to the conclusion that he needs to adapt to make them better at what they're already good at, finally understanding what it means to be a master and making the training harder and harder for them to improve. With the Dragon Warrior's instructions, the pandas manage to improve their skills enough for Po to feel confident of victory. Thinking they're ready, the Master Panda decides to tell everyone his strategy and divides the animals into 3 different groups, all to distract the zombies while he takes the opportunity to get closer to the enemy. Soon after the meeting, Kai arrives at the foot of the mountain and manages to climb it quite easily, coming face to face with Po at the entrance to the village. To start the attack, the yak throws the medallions so that his zombies gather the pandas in the center of the village. Controlling all the kung fu masters in China, Kai begins his attack and the pandas join Po, hurling themselves high into the air with a slingshot and knocking down the crane master right from the start. Still, several other zombies are on their feet and the master crocodile almost manages to swallow Po, but some pandas start rolling down the hill and they manages to strike several jade statues at once. In this way, the pandas manage to take some of the zombies out of combat and make Kai divide his attention between several warriors at the same time. In the center of the village, Tigress begins to confront the master crocodile when a panda cub clings to her foot, forcing her to divide her attention. Even so, the feline manages to keep the emerald alligator distracted while Po runs from the last warrior. To help him, some other cubs light a bunch of fireworks and start throwing them in the zombie's face, which makes Kai even more confused. Even so, the Shifu statue is still after Po. But since he can't face his own master, Ping and Li must join forces to stop the little red panda as his son advances towards the enemy. Finally free, the dragon warrior leaps towards Kai and rolls down the mountain until he is covered by a snowball. As soon as he hits the general, Po gets into the right position and tries the powerful WUXI finger hold, which is capable of taking someone to the spirit world, but for some reason it doesn't work with Kai. Confused, Po tries several more times and the general starts laughing in his face, saying that Ogway only teaches cheap tricks. He then says that the WUXI finger hold is used to send mortals to the spirit world, but as he is now a Shi entity, a technique like that no longer works on him. Taking advantage of Po being in front of him, Kai holds him back and summons all his zombies back, allowing him to pay full attention to the fight. Despite being extremely strong, Po can't do anything against him and takes a hit that sends him flying. Playing with the dragon warrior, Kai manages to knock him down with a kick and throws him up, jumping behind him to land a kick that sends him flying into the middle of the village. When they see Po, the other pandas crowd around him and he begs them to run, but Kai appears before they can do anything. Already tasting victory, Kai asks Ogway's talisman if this was the warrior destined to defeat him and begins to laugh, saying that he will absorb his Shi and that of everyone else present. Singing victory, Kai says it's ridiculous that Po thought he could send him back to the spirit world and claims he's just a mortal, which ends up giving the panda an idea. Determined to sacrifice himself for the good of all, Po clings to Kai's body and applies the WUXI finger hold to himself, causing an explosion of cherry blossoms that sends them both to the spirit realm. Furious at being back in his prison, Kai says he'll put an end to it once and for all and gives the panda a headbutt that sends it flying away, throwing his swords at it straight afterwards. Luckily, Po manages to dodge and the blades pass straight through, hitting a large structure just behind him. Using the chains, Kai pulls the tons of rock towards him, bringing Po close enough for him to land a punch. Because of the force of the blow, the rock breaks into several pieces and the Yak general holds Po with his chains, beginning to absorb the dragon warrior's Shi and starting the process that turns his body into jade. In the panda's village, the cherry blossom petals begin to fade and, desperate to help his son, Li Shan asks everyone to gather around the flowers. Using everything he learned from Po, he and the other pandas manage to unlock the Shi and send their vital energy to the dragon warrior, leaving him with so much accumulated strength that he can break the jade crystals around him. Suddenly, Po's body begins to glow and explodes in a sea of vital energy, sending Kai flying. With his new Shi master outfit, Po begins to draw pictures with his vital energy and assembles the avatar of the dragon warrior, using his summoning to fly freely through the spirit world. Wanting to end the fight quickly, Kai throws his green blade in an attempt to attack him, but the dragon manages to hold on to the chain and starts hitting the villain, as well as devouring one of his blades, which disintegrates when it comes into contact with the spiritual energy. Finally, Po uses his invocation to swallow Kai's body and make him wrap himself in his own chain. The spirit dragon then makes another attack and bites the green blade, taking advantage of the Yak general's chains to drag him from side to side, making him hit everything in sight. Tired of being used as a plaything, Kai makes a move and Po decides to launch his final blow, concentrating all his Shi on the dragon and sending it towards the Yak. Thinking that this is the perfect opportunity, the villain tries to absorb the energy with his own body, but Po's Shi is so strong that Kai's body begins to collapse, exploding and releasing all the masters that have been absorbed. In the secret village, Shifu and the others return to their normal form and start looking for the dragon warrior, but unlike the others, the panda is still in the spirit world. There, Ogway's Shi frees himself from the medallion and starts talking to Po, revealing that it was he who sent the message from the universe for Li Shan to go after his son. The wise turtle then says that the universe needed him and that's why it chose him to be the dragon warrior, because it saw that Po represented the two sides of yin and yang and was destined to be his successor. To prove that this has finally happened, Ogway hands his staff to Po, who is extremely happy with his new weapon. Thinking that his mission has been completed, the elderly turtle begins to levitate towards the cherry tree and says that it's time for Po to return to the world of the living. To do this, the panda draws the yin-yang symbol in the waters of the spirit realm and opens the portal that takes him back home. In the mortal world, Po hugs his parents and is extremely happy to see that his friends have returned, especially Shifu, who congratulates him on becoming a Shi master. Now that the world is safe, Po returns to the Jade Palace and takes everyone to live in the valley with him, putting an end to the panda's decades of isolation and using the power of their vital energy to restore everything that was destroyed. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.